Tickets at lvms.com or call 702-644-4444. The Bull Ring, October 12th. Gates open at 5. Be there.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
Time now for the most listened to talk show in Vegas.
You think we're fighting, and I think we're finally talking.
Talking with those on the right, the left, and everywhere in between.
Quiet. Shut up and let me answer, okay?
Answer.
Pot him down, please, because this is another MAGA who doesn't understand how to have a conversation with somebody.
It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
I'm kind of a big deal.
This show will make you laugh, make you cry, and it might raise Brian's blood pressure.
You know what, dude? People like you, all you do is make excuses for the orange turd, and I've had it.
All the smash and grabs and everything. Yeah, tell me, what race is doing that, first of all?
Okay, so you want radio show on YouTube, and you could be listening, of course, pushingthelimits.live, our new website, and we have a busy show lined up for you today. I had a chance to catch up with Mark Cuban yesterday. He did a town hall. I had a chance to sit down and talk with him. We are going to play that interview for you. Mark Cuban coming up a little bit later on in the program. Lev Parnas is going to be joining us in studio. He's got a new book out called Shadow Diplomacy, and he's also going to be taking your phone calls. So Lev Parnas is going to be joining us in studio as well. So two big guests today, and I want to start off the show right off the bat, talk about this MSG Donald Trump Klan rally that was held yesterday. Before I get to that, I will also mention that I had the opportunity to meet Governor Tim Walz over the weekend as well. We spoke for a couple minutes, got a chance to meet him and talk with him. What a good dude. What a normal, decent human being Tim Walz is. We shared a couple of laughs. We shared a couple of jokes that I won't share on the air. And it was really nice meeting Tim Walz. It's been a crazy couple weeks. I mean, I've had the opportunity to shake Barack Obama's hand. I've had the opportunity to meet Bill Clinton and talk with him for a few moments. I had the opportunity to meet Tim Walz yesterday. I had the opportunity to interview Mark Cuban, all from people coming to Las Vegas. Of course, I had the opportunity to meet Kamala Harris as well last month. So it's been really cool. And I'm very humbled and very appreciative of the people that I have been able to meet, and I'm sure this week will be no different. So Donald Trump decided to hold a rally at MSG, not because it was the right strategic thing to do, because let's be honest, Donald Trump has no chance to win New York. But this was a hate-filled night. Why do I say that? I'm not just throwing stuff at a wall and hope that it sticks. One speaker described Puerto Rico, home to 3.2 million U.S. citizens, as an island of garbage. Tucker Carlson mocked Harris' racial identity. A radio host described Hillary Clinton as a sick bastard. And a crucifix-wielding childhood friend of Trump's declaring that Harris is an antichrist. The Puerto Rico comments were made by a man who is a comedian by the name of Tony Hinchcliffe, a podcaster with a history of racist remarks, and the Trump campaign did not do this by accident. They knew exactly what they were getting into, and that's exactly what this was. By the way, this Trump rally could cost Donald Trump the election in Pennsylvania. There are 450,000 people, Puerto Ricans, that live in Pennsylvania. 450,000. Doesn't matter whether this guy's a comedian, but I want you to listen to this idiot and the Klan cultist out there that we're cheering. Have a listen to this.
It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, really, really intelligent. Now listen, folks. If this was a comedy club in the middle of nowhere, or just a comedy club in general where people are fans of this guy and they show up and they pay money and they expect to hear him make racist jokes, that's one thing. This is a political rally. You would never hear racist jokes made at a Kamala Harris rally. You never heard any of this made at an Obama rally or a Joe Biden rally. You definitely hear it at a Trump rally. And he continues with the bad jokes. Have a listen to this.
I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country. Republicans are the party with a good sense of humor.
By the way, that's supposed to be a packed house at MSG. I can tell you right now, half the crowd wasn't laughing at those jokes. The speaker before, Rudy Giuliani, spotted a black guy in the crowd and told a watermelon joke right after the Puerto Rico floating island of garbage joke. Again, let me repeat this because I think this is really important. 450,000 people from Puerto Rico live in Pennsylvania. How many of those people are going to be voting for Donald Trump after hearing this stuff? How many of them were voting for him before? I'm not so sure. And this is also important to note. At the exact moment that they were trashing Puerto Ricans at the Trump rally, Harris was campaigning at a very famous Puerto Rican American restaurant in Philadelphia. Very important to note. Funny, they weren't making racist jokes, the Harris campaign, were they? And the same guy that was complaining that Latinos have too many kids, then he talked about they never pull out during sex. Boy, what a great way to get Latinos to vote for Donald Trump, huh? What a wonderful way to get the vote out and have minorities vote for Donald Trump. Now, obviously, there's been some backlash on this, not just from members of the media, but from some pretty prominent people like Bad Bunny, J-Lo, Ricky Martin. They blasted out this stuff to over 300 million followers across their social media platforms. Was this what the Trump campaign was trying to do? Is this what's going to get them to the finish line and win? And then Stephen Miller took the stage. The theme of America is for Americans. Boy, interesting, because very similar language and wording that Adolf Hitler used back in the day. Elise Stefanik, who is just a complete imbecile, said that New York is Trump country. By the way, Trump lost New York in 2020 by 23 points. I don't know where she's getting Trump. New York is Trump country. It couldn't be further from the truth. Most New Yorkers can't stand the man. And then J.D. Vance, in his speech yesterday, said that Democrats tried to kill Donald Trump, which we know is not true. Folks, this is what we are up against. And I go on social media and I said, listen, this was like a toning of like a Hitler rally, a Nazi rally. And one MAGA supporter goes on my social media and says, oh, did you see all the diversity in the crowd? Let me be clear. Not that there was a ton of diversity in the crowd. I disagree with that assessment, but I'm sure there were minorities in the crowd. Does that make it okay? So because there are minorities in the crowd, you should be allowed to make racist jokes. They attacked Jews. They attacked blacks. They attacked Puerto Ricans. They attacked Puerto Rico. And I had a Trump surrogate from Puerto Rico who did my show a few weeks ago. I wonder what she would say if I asked her, are you okay with these jokes? She'd probably say yes, because she's okay with everything else. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Legal Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio. Donald Trump called this entire country a garbage can. You don't hear this sort of rhetoric coming from the other side, certainly not the Kamala Harris campaign or the Tim Walz campaign. You don't hear this sort of stuff. Donald Trump held this rally in MSG for his ego. Not because he thinks it would help him win the election. He wants to be treated as a king. He held it for his ego. And I know that he's obsessed with crowd sizes, and they'll say there were 75,000 people outside of MSG, which is also not true. And it's exhausting. The lies, the hate speech, the bigotry. And listen, I could take an entire show and play you clips from the J.D. Vance interview with Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper catching him in lie after lie after lie. It's like they want to change history. No, these are the quotes that Donald Trump has said about using our own military against Americans. He did say that in regards to Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff and others. He said that, the enemy within, and he used that same wording last night in New York. He wants to arrest people in the media, people at CBS. He wants to throw them off the air and send them in jail. He attacks migrants, whether they be legal or illegal, on a daily basis. This is exactly who his base is, and people got really upset at me several months ago, back in June, when I went to a Donald Trump rally and some of my videos went viral, and I said it felt like I was at a Klan rally. I didn't say everybody there were racist. I didn't say everybody there were members of the Klan, but there were a lot of people there that are bigots and racists, and the same thing last night at MSG. That's why I call it Klan rallies. That's why I call it a Klan cult. Did you see some of the outfits that some of these people are wearing? Did you see that moron, Haba, walk up on the stage looking like the fool she is? Did you see Giuliani? Did you hear these people talk? Did you hear their words? Did you hear what they said? It was all hate-filled. It wasn't about joy. It wasn't about the future. It was attacking Kamala Harris for her race. It was attacking Kamala Harris, her intelligence, calling her stupid, calling her a communist, calling her a Marxist. They call her a fascist. That's what the entire event was last night. It was a hate-filled rally filled with a bunch of ignorant, uneducated people. That's exactly what this rally was, a bunch of conspiracy theorists speaking gross negativity, disgusting behavior. It was nasty. It's exactly what this was. That's what the whole rally was all about. And it's sad. And it's sad that, and this is the worst part of this whole thing, right? I give you this analogy. Now, this would never happen at a Harris rally. They would never have a comedian up there making racist jokes that are offensive to certain groups of people. But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, for a moment, that the campaign made a mistake. By the way, I'm not saying this was a mistake. They knew exactly what comedian they had up there at this MSG rally. I'm not saying they made a mistake. This was intentional. But just for argument purposes, let's just say that Kamala Harris, her campaign, invited a comedian to come up there on stage and made a couple racist jokes. I guarantee you that when Harris takes the stage, or if she took the stage in that situation, she would denounce it. She would disavow. And one of the first things she would do is say, I don't appreciate that language, and that doesn't reflect me and my values. It's one of the first things she would say. So for the excuse for some of you MAGA morons out there, because that's exactly what you are, a bunch of bigoted MAGA morons, and I've had it with all of you. The Trump campaign said, well, that doesn't reflect Donald Trump and his values. Well, then why didn't Donald Trump say that? Please explain that to me. Donald Trump had the podium for a while. He was the keynote speaker, for lack of a better term. Why didn't he say that up there on the podium? He didn't. He didn't denounce any of the statements that were made. And again, the MAGA crowd about, oh, Brian, have a sense of humor. The comedian who made these jokes said, oh, the Democrats don't have a sense of humor. And he was attacking Tim Walz and said, you know, put in another new tampon. You know, the joke by these far-right idiots who don't even understand the policy because they're so stupid. This isn't about having a sense of humor. Listen, if you like racist jokes, then go to your local comedy club and go see a comedian who you think makes racist jokes and enjoy yourself. It's a free country. You can do it. It's not really my thing, but you can do it. Go ahead and do that. And I won't knock you for it, not my thing, but I won't knock you for it because it's a comedy club. And there's nothing wrong with making some jokes at a campaign event. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that either. What I'm saying is this is a campaign event. It is an election coming up in about a week, 8 days. It is beyond inappropriate at any campaign event, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people are going to agree with me on this, and a few MAGA morons will probably disagree. It is beyond inappropriate, repulsive, and disgusting to offend groups of people and make racist jokes at a campaign rally. Do we not understand the difference? Do these MAGA people, are they so stupid that they don't understand the difference? But go ahead and keep doing it. 450,000 Puerto Ricans. If you're from Puerto Rico, if you're a Puerto Rican, how could you be okay with this? Geraldo Rivera said it best. He went on social media blasting Donald Trump in his campaign, and Geraldo is right. Are they intentionally trying to lose this election? How is it possible that half the country, maybe close to half the country, are supporting Donald Trump? How? How is it possible? I don't understand this at all. How is this okay? Imagine if a comedian, before introducing Kamala Harris, made jokes about white people, racist jokes about white people. Imagine if somebody in the campaign did something like that and attacked certain groups of people because of where they're from or the color of their skin or their religion. Republicans would have a heyday with it 24/7, and they completely ignore the statements that were made at the rally last night. And Trump repeated his statements again, the enemy within nonsense. Yeah, he says crazy lefties. He wants to get our own military to attack Americans. That's exactly what he said. How do we know this? Because he mentioned the names of Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff specifically. So when J.D. Vance was asked about this in that Jake Tapper interview on CNN, J.D. Vance said, no, that's not what he said. He wasn't talking about the American people. Yes, he was. Listen to his own words. It wasn't taken out of context. He called them the enemy within and was specifically talking about crazy lefty crazies, and then he mentioned some names, Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. It's his own words that Jake Tapper used in that interview with J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance was spiraling out of control, lying, defending that kind of language. Now, J.D. Vance is put in a very difficult position because he has to lie for Donald Trump on a daily basis. But he's the one who wanted to sign up for the job. He called Donald Trump the next American Adolf Hitler. He's the one who applied for the job, for lack of a better term. He's the one who accepted the job. So I don't feel bad for J.D. Vance at all. He's another despicable Republican with no backbone. What type of country are we living in where this is acceptable behavior? What type of country are we living in where it's okay to make racist jokes at a campaign rally where millions of people will hear this? When did that become okay? George W. Bush would have never done that. I don't defend George W. Bush. He didn't do that at his rallies. John McCain definitely didn't do that. To the contrary, he wouldn't allow it. He would throw somebody out for making jokes like that. Mitt Romney didn't do any of this stuff. George Bush Sr. didn't do any of this stuff. These are all the presidents in my lifetime. Certainly none of the Democrats did that. Bill Clinton didn't do it. At his rallies, they didn't make racist jokes. Obama certainly didn't do it. Joe Biden hasn't done it. Kamala Harris wouldn't do it. Why is it only happens at Trump rallies that we see Confederate flags? Why is it only at Trump rallies do we spew, or they spew, hatred, bigotry, lies, negativity? Donald Trump doesn't talk about the future. He doesn't talk about policy. Yeah, he'll talk about tariffs as if that's such a wonderful thing. Kamala Harris over the last week has been very, very specific. She's been very, very specific policy-wise when it comes to taxes. She wants to roll taxes back for middle-class Americans under $400,000 a year in income at 28%. That's lower than Joe Biden. Kamala Harris is not Joe Biden. She has different policies. She has better policies, I would argue, that will help middle-class Americans. And if you don't believe me, the proof is in the pudding with the things she has said on the record and her plan. She wants to build. She wants a bipartisan border bill back on the table. And that's the go-to from the far right. The borders are. She slept her way to the top. They call her stupid. They call her a Marxist. They've called her fascist. When Donald Trump's own people in very high positions, including John Kelly, confirmed that he admired Adolf Hitler, at times praised Adolf Hitler, wanted his people to be loyal like Adolf Hitler's Nazi soldiers were to him and generals. What more do you want? Half of Donald Trump's administration either are not voting for him or supporting Kamala Harris. What more do you want? And J.D. Vance was asked about that over the weekend. Oh, well, they all an axe to grind with Donald Trump. You see, they thought they can control Donald Trump. It's a laughable and ignorant statement. You think Mike Pence thought that he could control Donald Trump? It's a joke. And it's not true. And it's absurd. It's absurd. So what are we doing? Wake up, America. What are we doing? In 1 week, 8 days to be exact, if you haven't already voted, you're going to have a very serious choice to make. Do you want the man who is a 34-count felon, a liable sexual abuser, where the judge in the case characterized it as rape, who has 30-plus women who have accused him of rape or sexual assault, the man who attacks women on looks, attacks Gold Star families, attacks brave soldiers? I don't respect them because they were captured. This is the guy who you want to be the leader of the free world, who for 15 minutes puts on a McDonald's apron and makes it seem like he's your everyday, normal, hardworking American. Donald Trump has had a silver spoon in his mouth since day one. He was given a $500 million company from his father. How many of his businesses have filed for bankruptcy? It's laughable when people say, oh, he's this wonderful, brilliant businessman. He was practically broke before he became the president of the United States. It is laughable. It is a joke. He's a terrible businessman. He's a terrible person. Did you see Melania refuse once again to kiss him on the lips? It was like an awkward side kiss where she didn't want to hold his hand, and after about 10 seconds, she gripped away from him and walked away from him in this contractual marriage. I wonder how much money they had to pay her to show up at MSG last night. Think about that. This is the guy who you want to be the leader of the free world. You know how you know a person's character? And we know Donald Trump has no character, but how do we know a person's character? How do we know a person's character well? Well, the closest people that are around them. His wife, his friends, those who worked for him, those who worked side by side with Donald Trump, and so many of them will not be voting for him. Many of them that worked in Donald Trump's administration are going to be voting for Kamala Harris. Some of them spoke at the DNC, the Stephanie Grishams of the world, for example. What more do you need, and what more proof do you need for it to be as clear as day that Donald Trump is unfit for office? What more evidence do you need? You know, I heard some people on social media saying, hey, I have a friend from Puerto Rico. He was disgusted by that event last night, not going to be voting for Donald Trump. What the hell took you so long? What the hell took you so long? What, it had to be last night? Now, I'm glad you're on the right side of history now. Thank God. Last night had to put it over the top. All the other statements and comments he's made on the record and his behavior, that wasn't enough for you? If Donald Trump does lose next week, there's going to be a lot of reasons why. But I can tell you right now, last night did not help him. Now, it might have revved up his base of bigoted morons. Last night did not help Donald Trump. And when I say help, you're trying to reach undecided voters. You're trying to reach those moderates on both sides of the aisle and independents. You think he did that with anybody yesterday? No chance. No chance. Yes, his bigoted base of supporters are probably going to love what took place last night, but that doesn't help Donald Trump. Because Kamala Harris is talking about the future. She's been doing it on the campaign trail constantly. Donald Trump is talking about the future. Donald Trump, is not talking about the future. Kamala Harris is. Did you hear Donald Trump talk about the future last night? What's his plan? What's his health care plan? Concepts, right? What's his plan about gun control? Abortion. I think we know what he wants to do. He's joyful, and he still brags about the fact that Roe versus Wade was overturned. What's his plan on health care? He's had 9 years. Is that a serious lawmaker? I have concepts of a plan. What's his plan to help the middle class? He gave the biggest tax breaks for the top 1% in this country for decades. What is Donald Trump's plan? Kamala Harris has shared her plan. Very eloquently, I might add. We know her take on abortion. We know her take on health care, on housing, on the economy. We know her take on gun control. I can tell you her take on virtually every issue. We know where she stands on Israel. We know where she stands on the border. She's talked about that, bringing back that bipartisan bill, getting Republicans back to the negotiating table. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed that bill. We know where she stands on every issue. So when you hear these Republicans say, we don't know where she stands on anything, she's not specific. They're lying or they're ill-informed. It's one or the other. It's one or the other. It's a blatant lie. If you're paying attention and you're informed and you're not watching Fox News or OAN or Newsmax, then you know where Kamala Harris stands on all the issues. Where does Donald Trump stand on anything? What is his plan for the future? Besides calling Kamala dumb, saying she turned black, talking about electrocution of sharks, talking about Hannibal Lecter. Besides at his rallies, people making racist jokes that are very offensive. Besides all that stuff, where does Donald Trump stand on the issues? Won't even say whether he wants Ukraine to win the war. I don't know. Here's what I do know. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Donald Trump has no plan for the future, doesn't care about you or me. Donald Trump only cares about himself. Last night was a perfect example of Donald Trump's base. Ignorant and ill-informed and bigoted base of supporters that are cultists is what they are. So we have big show coming up here in just a few minutes. You're going to hear from Mark Cuban. I had a chance to catch up with him. And then coming up here at the bottom of the hour, Lev Parnas is going to be joining us in studio. Certainly looking forward to that. But as I mentioned, I had the opportunity to catch up with Mark Cuban. So Mark Cuban did a town hall event in Las Vegas yesterday. I have so much respect for Mark Cuban for so many different reasons. First of all, nobody handed him anything. Mark Cuban tells the story all the time about how he was a bartender. And then he worked for a company and made a sale of $15,000 where he got $1,500 commission. And that was the big commission check that he had been waiting for. And then he got fired from his job. And he decided to eventually run his own business. Start up from nothing. And he made millions when he sold it. And of course, made billions after that. He's a guy who started with nothing. His father didn't give him a $500 million company. He earned every dollar. And Mark Cuban is a good, decent man, and I think he's a brilliant man. And kudos to the Harris campaign for reaching out to Mark Cuban, and they have been in contact with one another constantly. And even Cuban said it. You know, he doesn't agree with Harris on everything, but Harris listens to him. They're working together because Mark Cuban is a very intelligent, serious man who can help this country. And Cuban has been campaigning for Harris. He held a town hall last night, really a bunch of wonderful people who asked a bunch of wonderful questions. And you could tell with Mark Cuban, he is a caring individual with empathy. So I asked him a bunch of questions here in this short interview. I asked him if he'll ever run for president. I asked him about his support for Kamala Harris. So here is the interview yesterday. I had the opportunity to sit down with Mark Cuban after this town hall.
Thank you. All right, we're here with Mark Cuban. You just had a town hall downstairs here in Las Vegas campaigning for Kamala Harris. All right, Mark, first question. So many people on the far right, MAGA Republicans, say that Donald Trump is this brilliant businessman. You've done Sean Hannity's show, talking heads like that. I'm confused when they say that. Can you explain to these MAGA Republicans, why do they think Donald Trump is this brilliant businessman?
You know, honestly, it's not just the MAGA Republicans. It's just people who don't pay attention. Look, I see it all the time with, I have a lot of money, I'm blessed. And just because I'm wealthy doesn't make me smart, And I think people think that, let me say that again, just because I'm wealthy, I have to prove all the more that I know what I'm talking about. And I'm good with that. I want to answer all questions. When I did the town hall, I tried to answer every single question because I want to prove, and I prove it on Shark Tank every week, right, that I understand business. That's something Donald Trump has never done. But people just presume because of his bank account, wherever it is, that he must be a good business person. But when you look at the history, I mean, Trump University, where he ripped up people $25 million. Trump Soho, where he lied about the valuations of condos. Trump Foundation, where he lied about donations. What Michael Cohen said when he was testifying in a trial, where he said that Donald Trump encouraged him to short pay vendors. Right. Who does that? When he was on the stage in Michigan last week or the week before, and there was a 17-minute delay, and he said he would fire the audio engineer. You can work with audio engineers. No, there's zero. None. And he said he would sue them if they were him. Look, entrepreneurs, that engineer, they're just busting their ass trying to make a living. And if you don't understand that, you are not a good business person. And so that is the fundamental issue. And cut all that other shit about me and my bank account because don't just use that. Don't use that the wrong way.
But Mark, why is this race so close? Is it because people are ill-informed? I don't want to use the term ignorant, but how is this race this close? I don't understand.
Donald Trump's a good salesperson, and look at Trump University. I haven't talked about this yet. How is it that people would spend $25 million on a university that's not a university, on a quote-unquote university that has no value, does nothing, and the real value, if I remember right, they got to take a picture with a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump. Right. He's a good salesperson, but there's a difference between being a good salesperson and having a product of value. And unless you do the work to find out what's behind it, it's hard to know. Right. And the reality is, look, we just want to live our lives. Mm-hmm. People don't want to have to be do an in-depth analysis of Donald Trump's business background, but that's why I'm here. Right, to try to communicate that he's not a good business person, that he's ripped off hard-working Americans, and he doesn't even think twice about it.
Now, Mark, we obviously both want the same thing. I don't want to see Trump anywhere near the White House. You don't either. A lot of Americans don't. But if Trump does win, what do you think his administration will look like? The Looney Tunes and the crazies that would be in it, the Stephen Millers, the Sebastian Gorkas. I mean, you've said, though, on the record that you would still work with him, right? Talk to me about that. Why would you still work with him? And what's it? Country first.
Yeah, look, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, and I try to, count my blessings every single day, and it's because of this country. I got the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. I got the opportunity to make more money than I ever dreamed of in my entire. It's still to this day, it's unimaginable to me the good fortune I've had, and I can't turn my back on that. Now, it doesn't mean I agree with him. And it doesn't, obviously I'm here to support Kamala Harris because I think she'd be far better. But God help us if it happens, I'm still going to respect the country to gain the opportunity.
If you're in a private room with Donald Trump right now, I'm just curious, what would you say to him?
The f*** are you thinking?
Last question, and I know you got to run, and I appreciate the time. I know you're focused right now on Kamala Harris. There are a lot of people that speculate about you. Would you ever run for office or the presidency, and if not, why?
No. I mean, I have a company, costplusdrugs.com, that's literally turning the pharmaceutical industry upside down. We're saving millions of people money on their medications every single day. And to me, I can have more of an impact on the outside. And as I said in there, I mean, I've been fired from more jobs than most people have had. I'm just not a good employee.
Understood. I'm sorry, live. One more question.
Brian, we have to go.
That's okay. That's me. One more
I'm sorry. Okay. I want your prediction. I mean, I think.
I'm not going to make a prediction.
No, you're not.
I'm here because I think she'll win.
What does it say though that you've been owning the Dallas Mavericks forever? There's a lot of NBA teams that wouldn't even visit Donald Trump, right? It seems like it's the opposite. And people say, well, why do you need celebrities to Trump does the same thing, right? But when you look at the quality of people like you that are supporting Trump. Or I'm sorry, that are supporting Harris, and then you look at the Kid Rocks and the whole.
Yeah, I'm not going to denigrate anybody. Everybody, this is America, and they get to make their choices. But what I know with 100% certainty, Kamala Harris is better for this country. I'm a big believer that character is destiny. All those things I mentioned about Trump University and him ripping off hardworking Americans, that's his character. And when the shit hits the fan, which it always does for the president at some point, you want somebody with high character. And we already found out when 40 or 44 of his cabinet members don't support him and don't think he's capable and don't think he should be anywhere near the Oval Office, that tells you about his character. So that's why I'm here for coverage.
Thank you.
Great question. Really appreciate it.
Really appreciate it.
Yes, I do appreciate it, and they were good questions. Thank you, Mr. Cuban. Boy, what a class act he is, huh? Really smart guy. I mean, I think he'd be a great president one day, but it doesn't sound to me like he wants to run for office. I think he would be great, but the Harris campaign is very fortunate that he is doing this, and I think it's making a big difference going into communities, holding these town halls. Really intelligent guy, and I have the utmost respect for Mark Cuban and what he's done in his life, and I think it says a lot about somebody. You know, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. How many owners sit up in the rafters in the nosebleed seats with season ticket holders? Mark Cuban has done that time and time again, and I think that speaks volumes as to who he is as a person. Could you imagine Donald Trump ever doing something like that? Could you imagine Donald Trump going to a UFC event and just wanting to be around his people? No, he dislikes his own people. The people he hangs out with are the billionaires, the white billionaires that hang out at Mar-a-Lago. You know, and Mark Cuban is a real billionaire. He earned it all himself. Nobody handed him anything in his life. He takes care of his employees. He earned every dollar he ever made, and he understands how to start up a small business. Is there anybody that is smarter than Mark Cuban, a self-made billionaire, when it comes to yeah, there's others out there that are very intelligent as well, but Mark Cuban is one of the best. And a compassionate person, and a caring person, and a smart person who's not, you know why he did Shark Tank? He doesn't do Shark Tank to make money. He didn't do Shark Tank because he wanted to be more famous. He talks about this all the time. He did Shark Tank because he wants to inspire other people to own businesses and to start up small businesses. That's why he said it yesterday. That's why he did Shark Tank. And then you have these morons like O'Leary who does these interviews and are pro-Trump tariff idiots. I don't care how much money O'Leary has. What I care about is what's here and what's up here. O'Leary's not a good guy. He's a buffoon. Mark Cuban is a decent, good man. And it was an honor to talk. I had met him before, but it was an honor to be able to sit with him and be able to talk with him. Really inspiring stuff. And I watched the entire town hall in person, and I was really inspired by him. And like I said, I wish he would run for office, but doesn't sound like that's something he wants to do, and I totally understand why. You know, you have to be programmed a certain way to be able to deal with all the attacks you're going to get. He's just a class act and a stand-up guy, and I appreciate his time, and I also appreciate the Harris campaign. They've been great. A lot of nice people within the campaign, particularly here in the state of Nevada that I've worked with. They really are nice, kind, and good-hearted people, and they've been extremely helpful. I wish I could say the same, but I can't say the same about Donald Trump's staff, for lack of a better term. They're running a dictatorship over there. It's clear. And Donald Trump attacks the media on a daily basis. And it's sickening. I had a few, before we take a break, and Lev Parnas, by the way, is going to be joining us here on the other side of the break. And before we get Lev to come in studio, and he will be taking your calls, we will be taking your calls, as we always do on this show. But before we do that, I had the opportunity to meet Tim Waltz, as I mentioned to start the show. He went to a local Mexican restaurant. We were watching the Raiders game. And he shows up and he speaks for about 10 minutes. Just a normal guy. I go into this restaurant and it's people, all different ethnicities. It's what America should look like and what it does look like. Every color in the crayon box, all sorts of different people, good people, smart people, educated people, hardworking people. And then he arrives and he takes pictures with people and he speaks for a few minutes. Congressman Stephen Horsford was there, who I also appreciate very much, who's done this show before. And Waltz just talked about the differences with these two campaigns. And this was before the MSG event. And Waltz has been on the record talking about it since then, but just the hate speech and the negativity and no plan for the future. It's why Kamala Harris said, I invite you to go to a Donald Trump rally and you experience it for yourself, the hatred, the bigotry. She was 150% correct. I've been going to his rallies for years. They're all the same. And yes, the rally last night even took it a step further with the racist jokes, but this is nothing new for Donald Trump, and this is nothing new for so many of the followers that are in his base. This is nothing new. So as I say before, we have a very important decision to make. They could have the Kid Rocks. They could have the Hulk Hogans. They could have the Dana Whites, the Rudy Giulianis. We'll take the boss. We'll take Bruce Springsteen. And we'll take J-Lo and Ricky Martin, John Legend, Magic Johnson. We're talking about living legends, the Billy Joels of the world, the Elton Johns of the world. They can have their group of people. You can keep Ted Nugent. We'll take Robert De Niro. Yeah. Probably the best actor ever, or at least in my generation, for sure. But it's more important than just celebrity status. It's about how many people can they reach. You know, Taylor Swift is going to reach probably far more people than Kid Rock. Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan are the base of Donald Trump supporters. They're bigoted, racist people who are filled with hate speech. Kid Rock is the one that makes homophobic slurs when he's on a stage. Hulk Hogan is caught on audio telling people why he hates black people. It's all on tape, all this stuff. So you can have those people, because it doesn't surprise me that those people are supporting Donald Trump. What I want to know, and I ask people this question all the time that are supporting Trump, how do you look at yourself in the mirror? How do you look at your wife? How do you look at your daughter and say, I'm supporting the liable sexual abuser? I'm supporting the man who the judge characterized as a rapist. I'm supporting the man who's a 34-count felon. I don't care what policies you might like or dislike. How? How do you look at your wife and look at your daughter in the mirror and say that you support this guy? How do you do that? Do you have no moral compass? Do you have no dignity? Now, I agree with a lot of the policies that Kamala Harris has put forward. I agree with what they've done in the Joe Biden administration. They've done a lot of good things. Kamala Harris is not Joe Biden. We all have a very important decision to make if we haven't already. I don't know what's going to happen on Tuesday. And I have no problem in making predictions, whether it be a sports game or the elections. I got one election wrong in my lifetime, and I predicted that Hillary Clinton was going to win, and I was wrong. And by the way, millions and millions of other Americans were wrong as well. I'm not going to sit here and say that either candidate is going to win in a landslide, because I personally don't think that's going to happen. I think this is a very important race. And I don't care what polls say, even though the polls might agree with what I'm saying. I think this is going to be a very, very close election. Yes, I give a slight advantage to Kamala Harris. Why? Well, for all those people out there that voted for Joe Biden, I don't think there's many of them that are flipping and going to be voting for Donald Trump. On the contrary, I've spoken to far more people that are moderate Republicans that have voted for Donald Trump twice that will not be voting for him this time around. Now, some of those people won't be voting for Kamala Harris either. But a lot of moderate Republicans that I spoke with are either sitting this election out, which, by the way, I think is a mistake. But I would rather you not vote than vote for Donald Trump, or do what Donald Trump said and vote on January 5th. Donald Trump said that himself to his followers, vote on January 5th. I agree with Donald Trump on that. Listen, if you're thinking of voting for Donald Trump, please vote for him on January 5th. It's the one thing maybe Donald Trump has said ever that I agree with. I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still support me. Please vote for me on January 5th. Please do. Please go to your local polling location on January 5th and see if you can vote for Donald Trump. I hope you do. But like I said last night on social media, like I said earlier today on social media, and I say on this show right now, everything we heard and everything we saw in New York City at MSG last night was Not a surprise to me. Make no mistake about it, the campaign decided to have this podcaster and comedian on. They knew exactly the type of comic he is. And Joe Rogan is the one that recommended he do some stuff for Donald Trump. He was on his podcast talking about it. This is who these people are. Was I surprised by anything? No. Now, on the contrary, I would have been very surprised if Donald Trump apologized. I would have been very surprised if Donald Trump called out that stuff. Yeah, it would have surprised me very much. But no, I wasn't surprised. Wasn't surprised at all. So we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be joined by Lev Parnas. He's got a new book out. He's in Las Vegas. He's got an event that he's doing tomorrow night that I'm going to be a part of. We'll talk about that, and we'll also take your phone calls with Lev Parnas in a little bit here. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
This message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University System. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Lev Parnas is going to be joining us in studio at the top of the hour, and we'll be taking some calls. I know there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of questions for him, and he's nice enough to be joining us here in just a few. I did promise we would get to the phone calls. I want to thank the official gaming bar of the Pushing Limits radio show, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. They have great promotions this month, including the Pass the Puck contest for Vegas Golden Knights games. Great food, great atmosphere. Jackson's Bar and Grill. Check them out, located at Flamingo and Jones. All right, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We're talking about the MSG Clan Cult rally, for lack of a better term, last night. Your thoughts on that? Am I overreacting? 702-221-7283. Why don't we start off with Dave? Dave is first up on PTL. Hey, Dave, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, thank you. To answer your last question, I wouldn't exactly say you're overreacting. There's a lot of merit to saying to talking about all the ridiculous things that they say. Mm-hmm. But I think that the hypocrisy comes from on the left. I'm not saying you particularly, but it comes from on the left because, there are many times when racist jokes are made, and if the Republicans said what Democrats said, they would have had a meltdown.
I hear you. So, Dave, to challenge you on that, can you name me a Kamala Harris rally in the last 2 months where they had somebody making racist jokes?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So why would you make that? Okay, then with all due respect, why would you make that claim then? We have two people that are running for office, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. At Donald Trump rallies, They spread hatred, they spread bigotry, they make racist jokes. It didn't just happen last night. They've been doing this at his rallies for months, and I've attended some of those. Kamala Harris is running on the left, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. Can you name me any of their rallies at all where somebody said anything even close to the type of bigotry and hatred that was heard last night at MSG?
No, I'm not. Look, they're better strategically. They're smart enough not to do that. But I'm not specifically talking about rallies. Look, in 2020, Biden literally said to black voters, if you don't know to vote for me or Trump, then you're not a black person.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. First of all, with all due respect, that's a bad analogy. Number one, he admitted he was wrong, and he apologized for it. Donald Trump has never apologized for anything. And by the way, I don't consider that making a racist joke. He made a statement.
I didn't say it was a joke. I'm saying it was a comment that was...
Sure. He was trying...
My point is that they gave him the pass.
No, they didn't. What are you talking about? I heard
they did give
there were a lot of people that were...
Because if any Republican said that, they never would have let it down.
He apologized. He apologized and he said he was wrong. And I'm talking about the two candidates that are running for office right now, though, Dave. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but...
I understand, but my point is that the Democrat voters, they are right when they say Republicans are ridiculous for what they're doing, but then the hypocrisy lies in when they'll very often do the same thing.
They don't do the same thing. Dave, hear me out on this. They don't do the same thing.
Look at what George Lopez
Give me one... give me one example of a Kamala Harris rally or a Tim Walz rally where anything is said even close to what was said last night at MSG, and then I'll agree with you.
Well, I wouldn't exactly. You could kind of say this is close when she made the sort of passive-aggressive remark about Christians, which, saying, oh, it's at the smaller rally down the street. Now, now I thought that was kind of dumb on her part because it's not like all Christians are strictly conservative. There are plenty of liberal Christians out there who do vote for Kamala, and I'm not going to hold her to that. I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Dave, all I'm saying is I don't think that's a very fair equivalency to what you are. Listen, in the history of this country, have Democrats said some awful things? Sure. But we're talking about two candidates in 2024. These types of statements don't happen at Kamala Harris rallies. They happen almost every day with Donald Trump, with members of his staff. Every day, Dave. I appreciate your call, my friend, and I just don't think that's a very fair equivalency. All right, we have more people waiting on hold. Here's what we are going to do. We're going to take a quick break. Those people on hold will get the chance to talk to Lev Parnas. He's going to be joining us next. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Lev Parnas. We will take your phone calls. He's going to be answering questions coming up right after the break. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley for mayor.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection?
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, it's been kind of a crazy couple weeks. In the last 2 weeks, I had the opportunity to meet Barack Obama. I had the opportunity to meet Bill Clinton. I have the pictures to prove it. I met Tim Waltz yesterday. I interviewed Mark Cuban yesterday. I got to be honest with you. If you asked me like a year or two ago, I would have said, wow, this guy's really going to be in studio. Am I going to meet this guy and do an event with him? The answer is yes, and I'm very happy to be doing so. His name is Lev Parnas, and I think he has a lot of courage. I don't think it. I know it. He's done this show several times. He did the dirty work for Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump back in the day, and he paid the price for it. But now he's, I guess you could call it, not retribution, but just kind of understanding, you know, what he did, acknowledging it, that he made mistakes, and now he's on the right side of history. And I have so much respect for him for that. He also has a really awesome tell-all book called Shout Out Diplomacy, and he has an event in Las Vegas tomorrow night at the Space that I am going to be hosting with him. Lev Parnas joining us in studio. Lev, it really is an honor to finally meet you in person, and I appreciate you being here, Lev. How are you?
Hey, Brian, the honor's all mine. I can't believe I'm back in Vegas. It's been a while.
Last time you were here, wasn't it with Rudy Giuliani?
No, actually, it was right after Rudy. I came here to meet up with your then Attorney General Adam Laxalt running for Congress. Remember, I spent some time with him in Vegas.
Oh boy, he's very special. We could definitely get into that. But we have this event tomorrow night, of course, at the Space. We're going to talk about that. Called the Space, where tickets are available, very affordable prices, where I can meet Lev, you know, get a book signed by him, and also I've talked to you about this before. From Russia with Lev, the Rachel Maddow documentary about you was, I thought, phenomenal. I watched it; it's so great, and free screening of that tomorrow night as well. It's got to feel good to kind of meet these people right out across the country and talk with them. And I know a lot of people appreciate you for your honesty now and coming forward and being on the right side of history.
It's been incredible, and like I want to give all the praise out to God, and especially for everything that's happened, the way it happened, and the timing. But also, Rachel Maddow, Billy Corbin, Alfred Spellman, to be able to put together such an incredible piece of work, because there's a lot happened in Trump world, and a lot of the the documentary obviously doesn't go into all of it, and that's why I wrote the book, which you could get extensive view of all the things that transpired. But the documentary was incredible because they were able to take a segment, the impeachment, where it really started. Because if we all remember, that first impeachment of Donald Trump, if the senators in Congress had a backbone, if they were able to call the witnesses, and he was able to get impeached, we would not be here today. There would be no January 6th. We wouldn't be sitting here fighting for our democracy and trying to save it. So that's why they were able to capture that. And I really welcome everybody who hasn't seen it or who has to come out today. Not today, I'm sorry. It's tomorrow night.
At the Space at 7 p.m.
And we're going to have a free screening of the movie as a bonus. I'll be there to answer questions. I'll have books there to sign, but I think it's going to be an incredible event. And I think it's important for people on both sides. It doesn't matter if you're, undecisive, if you're thinking you're voting for Trump or you're not. You need to come out. You need to take a look to get a real understanding and get into your Q&A to see before you get into that.
Great. People will have an opportunity to ask you questions there in person. Before I go back to, the stuff that you did with Giuliani, I have to ask you about last night. You've spent a lot of time in New York.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about Madison Square Garden. You had racist jokes, just pure bigotry, attacks on Kamala Harris, again, her race. Tucker Carlson did that. What do you make of that, Lev? What type of country are we living in now where apparently it's okay and it's appropriate on the MAGA side to make these racist jokes and attacks on Puerto Ricans? What did you make of last night?
I mean, that was disgusting. I mean, I couldn't even watch it. I had to turn it off because, that was just, I watch his stuff because I usually have to comment on it. I have interviews, but watching, watching that bashing of just disgust, it was just something that I did not want to go through. And I think the American country is not what you're seeing there in Madison Square Garden. I think it's a small portion of it that, that has a loud voice. These mega cultists, they know how to get out there and make their voices heard. But I truly believe that November 5th, our democracy is going to show Donald Trump and the mega cult, one way is, as that song is, get you out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
But you spent time, obviously, around Donald Trump.
Lots of time.
You know Donald Trump pretty well.
Very well.
Can I ask you this? Why on earth, he knows he's going to lose New York, right, Lev? I feel like he's only there because of his ego. He's doing this event at MSG to stick his chest out because of his ego. What could be any other reason why he would hold this event in New York when he knows he's not going to win that state?
Oh, it's a lot bigger than that, and that's what people understand. He uses the media. He uses the media, and there's a lot of people, undecisive, people that don't watch and are into it, like most of our viewers here, and they all of a sudden come out here and see Donald Trump in Madison Square Garden, a place where it's all democratic, basically, fill the stadium and all of that rah-rah-rah. That's an impression that shows the other country that maybe New York is up for play. Maybe there is a movement. He's basically, he's a con man. He's basically out there trying to con the American people to believe that there's more people that are supporting him than there really are. And that is why he's going to these places where he knows he can't win, but he's getting the media attention that, he thinks he's playing the media when the media thinks they're playing him, like the CNN's out there when they're giving him that town halls, and then they're out there, giving him that free reign to lie.
Lev, did he ever bring up Adolf Hitler when you spent time around him? Did you ever hear him talk about evil dictators in a positive light like that when you spent time around him and Rudy Giuliani?
Never Hitler, because to me that would have been could have been a wake-up call. But definitely Putin, definitely Kim Jong-un.
So what does he say about guys like that in front of you behind closed doors?
He admires these guys. I mean, not only these guys, like if you should hear the conversations we have about like ex-mafia guys like John Gotti, guys like, Sammy the Bull, guys like, I mean, he admires it. Not only him, but Giuliani also. That's what I think they have a lot in common, is growing up in that era, living in that era where the mob controlled New York and they had to deal with them from one way or the other, where Giuliani was prosecuting them, but Trump was working with them. So it's a bond that actually brought me close together with them because I lived that same life with them.
We all know that Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani are known to be misogynist pigs, I guess, for lack of a better term. we heard the audio of him talking about grabbing women by the genitalia. Is that the way he talked in front of you? Did he and Rudy Giuliani talk like that privately about women like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll give you an example. There was an instance at a golf course one time where, there were some donors walking by. He was sitting there. Giuliani told me the story where he was sitting by as a female donor was approaching him. She was a very heavy-set woman, breasted. And if Trump turned around and made a joke like, watch this, as she came up to take a picture with him, he moved his head right into her breasts, for the guys to see. I mean, that's what Donald Trump is. And, when he says these things and says it's locker room talk, it's more than locker room talk. It's a way of life for them. He is one way on camera. That's when he's the showman. And then he's a different way in real life.
Mm. I've asked you before what you would say to Donald Trump if you were in a closed room with him in private, but I'm curious, what would you say to Rudy Giuliani? I mean, we saw him yesterday. He's in this wheelchair. His health is obviously deteriorating, his mind deteriorating as well. He's given up his apartments, his cars, memorabilia. I mean, this is a man that is just, he's gone. And I remember Rudy Giuliani in the days after 9/11, as I'm sure you do as well. Many people looked up to him as hero, and I did as well. I thought he did a really good job after 9/11. He cleaned up the city. What would you say to him now? This man that, sitting there in a wheelchair is losing everything. By the way, no fault of anybody else but himself.
I mean, honestly, there's a lot I'd like to say to him, but the first thing I'd say to him if I saw him is, you're a real piece of shit. I mean, that's bottom line because of what he did to me, my family, and then what he proceeded to do to the country. He's a real piece of shit. I mean, what he did to Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss, what he put him through. It's not even about the money because money's not everything. People don't understand that the horrors that you go through of feeling that your life is at stake, your kids' lives are at stake, you can't live normally, you have to live under false pretenses of different identities. And I've been living a lot of that life the same way as them because of, the Trump world. So I understand it, and I think I would tell him directly he's a piece of shit.
Well, I don't disagree with you on that. What was the first moment for you personally, Lev, where you said to yourself, oh boy, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. This might get me in a lot of trouble. Maybe I should disassociate myself from Donald Trump and or Rudy Giuliani. What was that first moment for you where you had kind of a moment where you said that to yourself?
I never had that. I was so deep in Trump cult. I was one of the leaders of the cult. So for me to get out of that cult, like I said previously, as bad as it was, I needed to get arrested. I needed to hit a brick wall. I needed to be able to get out of that environment where I was constantly fed the same thing. Because what is a cult? It's when they take your mind, they put you in an environment where you could only watch certain things, you could say certain things, you're only allowed to see certain things, and that's what keeps you going. Yeah. So when I was in there, I truly believed I was going to be an American hero. I truly believed I was saving our democracy. I truly believed, listen, I was working for the President of the United States.
Right.
I mean, so I never thought about, yes, did I have during the time kind of thoughts? Absolutely. Like, when he would make fun of journalists that were, disabled and, that's not me. Or when he would make derogatory jokes towards women, that's not me. I have, 3 daughters. I have a wife, a sister, a mother. So, but when you're in that cult, you overlook that and you move forward, and you make a excuse for him, like, oh, it's locker room talk, or he really didn't mean it, or we've said it all before.
You use the same language he uses as an excuse.
Exactly,
right.
You use the same, and you move on.
Right.
And that's the horrible part about it.
One more question about the past, then I want to talk about the future. You did something that I thought was very courageous when you spoke in front of Congress. I watched it live. Millions and millions of people in this country watched that, and I know a lot of those people are very appreciative to you. Dealing with Matt Gaetz, dealing with these complete idiots on the far right, and I thought you handled yourself so well. There's not many people in the world or in this country that get the opportunity to do what you did. I'm wondering what that experience was like for you, if you could even put that into words. Even though you're about 50 feet away, 60 feet away, but you're in Congress, you're under oath, you're getting into it with Matt Gaetz and some of these people on the far right. And listen, many of the people on the left were obviously defending you and thanking you for being there, and rightfully so. What was that like for you? I mean, that had to be a surreal experience. If someone said 2 years ago, hey, Lev, you're going to be testifying in front of Congress, you probably wouldn't have believed that.
Oh, absolutely not. I truly gave up on it. I thought because of the way Bill Barr and the DOJ tried to cover up and silence me, I'd never get an opportunity to speak under oath. And when I was given that opportunity, the whole experience was surreal. But I came in there with receipts. I came in there hoping that it would put an end to all of this conspiracy theories, because we'd be able to spend 8 hours of asking questions. They'd have a chance to grill me. And that's the one thing they always wanted. They said, let's put him under oath, because if he lies, that's another 5 years in prison. You can't lie under oath. Right. And the incredible part, which really I couldn't believe that here in the United States, is yes, we have filibustering, but I spent 8 hours there and nobody on that panel asked me one question. They set me up and they thought they were going to have their gotcha moment with Matt Gaetz as the last one coming in there. Out of all people, they chose the only guy that I know more about his dirty stuff than he knows about mine. So it was hilarious when he came in towards the end and tried to assault me and say, hey, you're a convicted felon, while at the same time their number one witness is sitting in prison, testifying from prison, serving 18 years. Right. And it got interesting, got heated, and when he tried to attack me, one of the things, we almost got into it. I held back, but I told him, you can't handle the truth, Matt Gaetz, because if I come out and I start telling the truth, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's why they cut me off and went on, and that was it.
Well, let's talk about Matt Gaetz for a moment. He was accused of having sex with underage girls, allegedly. He was accused, allegedly, of using his Venmo account to pay off certain people. We know that he is confided in and had a best friend who is now behind bars for different reasons. But what can you tell us about this guy, and why do you think, I don't know if there are any open investigations still going on right now. I don't know if they reopened the investigation. But what can you tell us about this guy that maybe the general public might not know, Lev?
I mean, besides him being a sleazeball, we all know that. Sure. But I think it's interesting to take a look at what's been transpiring the past maybe month and a half. After all, there was announcements that the House was looking into his Venmo payments and the underage girl. So there is, I think, an investigation open in the House looking into his conduct. And right after that, as you could see lately, you don't see him at Trump rallies. You don't see him speaking up as much. You don't see him out there next to Trump at all. So that's an interesting telltale. I don't know, I don't know if there's any criminal investigations, but there's been, like they were saying about Biden, they should use the same thing. There's a lot of fire around Matt Gaetz,
yeah.
A lot of smoke. There has to be fire. So, I hope the truth comes out. I hope they look into him. I remember one part, we were at a America First event, and it was a Trump International in Washington, D.C., and there was a lot of donors there, a lot of congressmen, senators, and I will never forget Joe Ahern. He was running up the America First event, ran up to me and said, hey, if you see Matt Gaetz, let us know because we're trying to keep him out of here. I go, what's going on? He goes, he got drunk or stoned and he's hitting on donors. He's hitting on wives' donors. We can't let him in here. And I remember that like yesterday, that they were literally on the prowl watching, make sure Matt Gaetz doesn't get into the event. So, I mean, that's the type of environment that was around. And it was interesting to see him transform from somebody that was not taken seriously, somebody that was a party guy, looked at as a party guy in Congress, then all of a sudden make that transformation into that hardcore Trumper and supporter of basically anything Trump said. And again, he used it for his own personal, and Trump knew it also, and that's why I think you're seeing that, you're not seeing that love anymore between Trump and Matt Gaetz in the past month towards the end.
Lev, how bad of a human being do you have to be a big Trump supporter in office and for them not to want you anywhere near a political event? You have to be pretty bad. Oh, my God. If you're just joining us, Lev Parnas joining us in studio. We got this really cool event. Lev is obviously in Vegas, and I'm going to be helping to host an event that he is going to be doing tomorrow night. It's at a place called The Space, which is a really cool, intimate venue. VIP admission is $125. You get to be on the floor. You're going to get a personal screening of From Russia with Lev, an evening with Lev Parnas discussion hosted by me. We're going to do a Q&A. You'll get a VIP meet and greet experience, a reception, a photo opportunity, and then a personalized signing of his book, which is awesome, Shadow Diplomacy. Books are available for sale in the lobby, by the way. Signed or unsigned, and this will be at The Space. So for more information, call The Space for more. The screening will be starting at 7 p.m. And you can also get general admission tickets for as low as $69. And I will be there, and I'm really looking forward to this event. Lev, what do you say we take some phone calls? What do you think about that?
Let's do it.
There's a lot of people out there that want to ask you a lot of questions that have been waiting very patiently on hold, so let's do that.
Let's do it.
All right, phone lines are clogged right now, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Janelle. Janelle is first on PTL. Hi, Janelle. You're on with Lev Parnas. Go right ahead.
Hello, Lev. How are you? First off, I want to give my respects to everything you're doing. I know coming out the other side of that must not have been easy. I can't even imagine everything you went through, but kudos to you for what you're doing now, and people like you who are on the inside for doing what they're doing now to try to get the word out. Quite commendable. Lord knows we've all made wrong decisions. We made bad mistakes, and, all we can do is course correct.
God bless you, Janelle. Amen. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so, keep up the good work, fight the good fight. I'm absolutely stunned. I can't say I'm surprised. I'm stunned, but I'm not stunned about what happened last night.
Yeah.
It was just, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. Not like they were before, but it's just amplified a millionfold now.
What about the stupidity? And by the way, thank you so much for the call, Janelle. Great to hear from you. What about the stupidity? There's 450,000 Puerto Ricans in Pennsylvania.
Incredible.
In
Florida, what about Florida?
Yeah, what's
Florida.
the strategy there? How could you be Puerto Rican and vote for this guy?
There's no strategy. That's what I'm saying to you. It's just out of control. Remember, there's no guardrails right now. If you had guardrails before, like you had people, and the biggest one was Ivanka. Ivanka, when she was around him, he would never be a Madison Square Garden. I can promise you that.
That's true. Ivanka's stayed away from
everybody.
The campaign. So is Jared. Have you met Jared Kushner and Ivanka?
I've had intimate dinners with them.
What is that like?
That's kind of, she's the boss. I'll put it to you this way. She wears the pants in the family.
and Jared gets a $2.1 billion payment from the Saudis. How the hell does he make that happen?
Jared just wants to stay away. He doesn't want the spotlight. He made $2 billion, and he just doesn't understand but he understands that if Trump keeps going,
there's no chance he gets that payment if he's not working for Donald Trump.
No way.
No way.
Come on. That's just obvious.
Why do you think they're staying away from the campaign now?
Well, that's obvious. Because first of all, they made a lot of money. They don't want to have spotlight on them. But second of all, Jared and Ivanka is not part of the Trump cult. They see reality. They believe in a lot of stuff. He's her father. She grew up in it, but she's a totally different person. And
different than Eric and Don Jr. That's for sure.
Well, Eric and Don Jr. are not nowhere near they're not there. It's Lara Trump is the one that's there.
That's true.
They're just running around trying to make money in cryptocurrency and all this kind of bullshit.
Very true.
They're not part of anything to do with the campaign.
Very true. Number to call 702-221-7283. Let's go to Esther. Esther is next up on PTL. Hi, Esther. You're on with Lev Parnas. Go right ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my call again. You know what, brother? Thanks for coming back onto the righteous side about the comments last night. All it did was, what's that movie in World War II? The movie, all it did was awaken a sleeping giant. Mm-hmm. I'm a Latina. I have a lot of Latino friends, and all they did was like, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Latino people for the majority of the part, they're like, we want to lay low. We would just want to, we don't care about politics. They don't care about us, blah, blah, blah. All it did was tick people off.
Yeah.
It shows his true colors. It shows that's the whole thing.
Exactly.
It shows his true face.
They're like, yes, thank you. They're up in arms. They're like, you know what? We're voting. That's it. We've never voted before. People that have never, they're like, we don't know. They're up in arms. They're registered. They're going to the polls.
Good.
They're like,
good.
But I think the scary part, and sorry to interrupt, is the strategy. If you take a look at what Trump and their campaign are doing, they're not out there trying to get the Puerto Rican vote. They're not out there trying to get the woman vote. They're out there on the opposite. They're talking about, Catwomen, the lonely Catwoman. They're talking about, Puerto Rican garbage island. They're talking about divisiveness and racism. They're not out there. And the other part of it, because as they're doing it, at the same time, they're talking about saying that if they don't win, then there was a fixes in. That means this is all a setup. They know that they're not going to win. They're already prepared. This is all being set up to be able to then challenge, to be able to go after, to show and stuff like that. I think that's where we're going to have a big problem.
Trump ever talk to you about that, about the elections? He said 2016 was going to be rigged, then he won. We all know what took place in 2020. And I know when you were spending time with him, but did he ever talk about that nonsense with you, about election integrity? Did he ever admit that he was lying about that stuff?
Well, he never admitted he was lying about anything. He never admits anything about it. He doubles down if anything. But yeah, he would always talk about that. That it wasn't the Russians. There was more the Democrats and the Ukrainians that interfered. The Russians never interfered into his election. But the interesting part, I remember in 2019, early part of 2019, I remember Giuliani and part of the BLT team and others in Congress were sitting there when we had meetings. Already discussions Giuliani was bringing up, saying that if Trump doesn't win, that means it was rigged, and started preparing already. So what you saw in January 6th, it was already starting to be prepared in early part of 2019, conversations about that the elections were going to be rigged.
Same thing's going to happen.
Same thing's happening here right now, and that you could see it because in every part of his dialogue, he's talking about like, hey, if we don't win, it has to be law. It has to be.
We know
rigged.
that's going to happen. Let's hope that does happen, though. I mean, because we don't want the other thing to happen where he wins and then he's back in the White House.
But well, I really believe that it's not only he's not going to get a chance because we're going to come out in force. I believe we're going to kick his ass. Excuse me for my language.
That's
I think we're really going to show him it's not going to be close. It's not, and if that happens, and that's what I pray also. Believe
I
me.
hope you're right, Lev. We can't let him anywhere near the White House again.
Believe me, my life is on the line.
I know that, and it's even more important for you, your family, your wonderful family, your wife, your kids. You're absolutely right. And I think about people like you. I think of a lot of people in this country, and I especially think about somebody like you who's now on the right side. You've been through hell and back, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But let's hope people get out there and vote. All right, we got a lot more people on hold. Let's go to Charles. Line 2, Charles is next up on PTL. Hi, Charles. You're on with Lev Parnas. Go right ahead.
Hey, Brian. Glad to meet you, Lev. I'm glad you're back on the right side.
Thank you, Charles.
We totally forgive you. People make mistakes, and we learn from them. And speaking of both sides in it, I know you had a previous caller, Brian, that was talking about, the Democrats, make racist jokes too. The only example I have of that is Al Franken. And he was immediately excoriated, right or wrong, for what he did with his little antics, which I don't really even think.
Well, I shut that down. I shut that down with that caller right away.
Yeah.
That was before Lev got here because I asked him, can you name me a Kamala Harris rally or a Tim Walz rally where anybody in the last couple months has said anything even close to as derogatory as what you heard last night? And of course he said no. Then I said it's not a fair comparison. What are we talking about?
But Brian, it's not even there. I wasn't here, but just from what you're saying.
Yeah.
Think about any Republican Party before Donald Trump. Take Donald Trump out of it, you would never hear on any side. None
John
of this.
McCain, Mitt
Never.
Romney, George.
If anybody would ever make even a mistake, a slip up, that was the end of their campaign. This is totally different,
one
guys.
thing I got to say too is that they're complete liars too. And I got to ask, Lev, because you said that you didn't find out that you were really part of the cult till it was basically too late. How did it feel when you found out that Donald Trump lied about even knowing you, although you had pictures with him?
It was so hurtful. Not only Donald Trump, but it was Rudy Giuliani. It was the whole team. Everybody basically pretended that they didn't know me. And the first stage of getting out was depression. I mean, I couldn't believe it. It was very difficult. I couldn't believe that my actions, thinking back of what I put my family through on their behalf, what I put the country through, what I put everybody through. And it took me time to get out of that, really, because you still, you go back and forth with your feelings, saying, well, and maybe they'll come back. Maybe this is all a part of strategy. Maybe because he's the president, he has to do it. And they kept the full blitz on. Giuliani would continuously call my lawyers, try to offer pardons and all kinds of stuff to be able to keep me on track. So it was very difficult, but like I say, I thank God every day, my wife, my lawyer, my kids, because they were the only ones that were able to pull me out of that at that time. So God bless them.
Thank goodness. All right, let's go to Beverly. Beverly is next up on PTL. Bev, what's going on?
Hey, I just want first of all say I love Lev.
Oh,
I've only known of you since seeing you on Brian's show, but then hearing your story and all that, like, I love you. But I want to say that when Donnie Boy said vote January 5th, and you laughed and laughed about that. When I first heard it, I laughed and laughed too. But then I realized it was a slip. That was a call out to his people. He meant be prepared January 5th, because I know Kamala's going to win, and we need to march again on January 6th.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Although Donald Trump did say that his people should vote on January 5th. So, like I said, that's the one thing I agree with him on. Please, if you're a Donald Trump supporter, please vote on January 5th. Listen to your leader, please. I'm serious.
But also on him filling Madison Square Gardens, I'm assuming he busts them in. I'm wondering if he busts them out again.
I don't know. I can tell you that not everybody there was laughing at the bigoted jokes. Some of the people show up for the spectacle.
Right. So he's a showman. You got to
Right.
understand. And a lot of people come up there literally like watching a comedian on a
Right.
show or watching that dark comedy or,
Right.
slapstick comedy. So not even everybody, I don't think, was there to support him. I think the other people are there part of history,
Right.
That type of stuff.
So we welcome MAGA callers as well. Do we have a MAGA caller on the line? Okay, Lev, you ready
Yeah,
for this?
let's
All
do
right.
it.
Patrick, MAGA Patrick, let's call him, is calling up. Patrick, you're on with Lev Parnas. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I just want to point out George Lopez, I guess just the other day, was making some jokes about Latinos on the border stealing the construction equipment if they didn't build it quick enough. I'd say that's pretty racist.
Where did he say it? Was it at a Kamala Harris rally? Where did he say it?
Yeah, he just did it, I believe, yesterday at a very small rally somewhere.
Okay, so you don't know if it was a Kamala Harris rally. You said it was a small rally somewhere, so you don't know where it was. You don't know if it was at a Kamala Harris rally, and you're comparing that statement to the statements that were made last night. I'm just curious.
But that's
It was at a rally.
But that's
It was
part
at
of
either Tim Walz or a Kamala Harris rally.
Okay.
yeah.
But that's part of the whole MO that we used to implement, and I was part of one of the people that taught the mega cult to implement that. Is yes, you might hear something or somewhere somebody say it, and then you amplify it and compare it to something huge. That's what, like Brian said, Madison Square Garden, in front of the whole world. You had not just Donald Trump, you had everybody come up there, every guest, basically, every speaker come up there and make derogatory, racist remarks one way or the other. And then you'll compare it to somewhere there's a rally with maybe 50 people and somebody will make a remark and you'll compare it and say it's the same exact thing. It's not. And that's just part of what the cult mentality does.
You can't blame me for his rallies being exponentially bigger than Tim Walz.
Okay. Well, that's nonsense, number one, and that's
Kamala
nonsense.
Harris.
That's nonsense,
No,
number
it is
one.
absolutely true.
Okay, so you could obsess about crowds. Hold on, Patrick. Patrick, I'm gonna give you some facts right now because I know you MAGA people struggle spelling that word. I've been to 2 Donald Trump rallies in Vegas. I've been to 2 Donald Trump rallies. Hold on, you're gonna pot him down. You're not gonna interrupt me, MAGA. You're gonna let me finish. Sorry, Lev. I have a bone to pick with this guy. Thomas and Mack Center holds 19,000 people. I've been going to that arena for 20 years, Patrick. Half of the arena was roped off. There was nobody in the upper section, maybe 6,000 people there. Donald Trump said 29,000 people were in an arena that holds 19,000. Kamala Harris was in that arena the month before. There were over 16,000 people there. It was jammed. I was in both of them, Patrick. So with all due respect, sir, you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. By the way, the man who you support said that the entire country is a garbage can. Okay? Give me a comment that Tim Walz and Kamala Harris has ever said even close to that. You had people on that stage yesterday that said Puerto Rico was basically a garbage can. You had people on that stage that were attacking black people, making comments about watermelon jokes, attacking Jews. Okay, so don't you try to come in here and call into this show and say, well, George Lopez, I don't know, it might have been in front of 50 people. I don't know where it was or who it was, but that's the exact same thing. Hey, Patrick, it's not the same thing.
Not even close.
It's not even close.
Hey, I was agreeing with your guest there that his rallies was much bigger than the small rally that George Lopez made a race.
But you know what, Patrick? The other thing that you don't know, because I've been to more rallies than you have hair in your head, and I was part of putting these rallies together, that majority of those people are not there to support Donald Trump. They come there as a show. They come there to watch a show. They come there to watch. The difference between, these are political rallies. If you take a look at Kamala Harris, that's a political rally. This is where people go to show up to listen to her political stomp speech. People that show up to Donald Trump, they come up to see what's the next crazy things he's going to say, because he doesn't talk about policy. He doesn't talk about anything to unite or support this country. The only thing he comes out there is like making jokes. Even take a look at his Joe Rogan show. Joe Rogan himself said, listen, you should be a comedian because everything you come out, you got the time, the glare of comedian. He's a showman. He's a con man, and he's a hustler. And what I recommend, if you're in Vegas, Mega Joe, please come on out to the show. I'd love to meet you, and I'd love for you to watch the movie. And I promise you'll come back on the show, and you'll be saying, I'll never vote for that guy again.
I'll tell you one thing we won't have, though, tomorrow night. We won't have Hulk Hogan attempting to rip his shirt off. We won't have Kid
Maybe
Rock.
Kendall will do it.
Yeah.
Kendall will.
We won't have that. Thank you, Lev, for putting Patrick in the correct place, but you'll still inviting him to the event, which I'm sure he won't show up to because he only shows up to pro-MAGA people.
To win the popular vote?
I'm sorry,
Is
what?
that concerning to y'all?
What?
Are y'all concerned that even CNN on their polling is talking about that Trump actually might win the popular vote?
Mega, what's concerning to me is that you won't show up and take a look at the facts. I challenge you to come tomorrow to the event. I will give you a free ticket, you personally, and I will want you to watch the movie and discuss with me, and then come on the show, on Brian's show afterwards, and then talk then.
Patrick, why don't you show up tomorrow night? You live in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Why don't you show up tomorrow night? He's offering you a free ticket. Why don't you take that opportunity?
I don't live in Vegas.
Where do you live?
But thank you for the
Where do you live?
for the opportunity.
Where do you live?
I don't live in Nevada.
Okay.
Well, I apologize for that, but I wish you were. But I'm going to put an invitation out. If there's any Brian real mega people on here
Sure.
that are constantly discussing with you, call on in right now. I'll choose one or two of you guys. I'll give you
There
a
you
free
go.
ticket. I'll
There
bring
you
you
go.
up there so you could come out there and see with your own eyes, hear with your own ears, and then
Sure.
make your decision.
I think that's very, very fair, and that's very nice of you to do. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I just can't believe the comparison that he was trying to make. I get
But
that.
no, it's not, Brian, because that's part of what we taught them. It's the same
Right.
thing as part of lying. Keep lying. Eventually, people will either believe you or they just won't care. They'll discredit both sides.
Unfortunately. All right, let's take some more phone calls. Let's go to Nelson. Nelson is next on. Hi, Nelson. You're on with Lev Parnas. Go right ahead.
Hello. A couple points. A leading civil rights lawyer in the country have pointed out to 20 ways that Trump has been copying Hitler's style of talking and everything. All you gotta do is put the mustache on him, and it's a splitting image. It's how he operates.
Let me ask Lev that
And,
question.
Yeah.
Let me just ask
Yeah.
Lev. Are you okay with people comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler?
Absolutely, because it's not just Hitler. It's Hitler. It's Putin. It's people don't realize where Donald Trump came from, because you look at him and you think that's Donald Trump. He grew up in a very authoritarian family with his father. His father Fred. I used to work for him when I was 16 years old back in New York. His father was like a I'm not going to compare him to Hitler or Mussolini,
Right.
but that's the type of environment he grew up in. So Donald Trump always craved to have power. And on the streets,
Yeah.
it was power from the mob, from the mafia, to be like a leader. And now he's gotten to
Yeah.
the highest point where it's now to be a dictator. So he looks up to people like Hitler, Mussolini, what's his name, Putin, Kim Jong-un, because these are people that nobody could say no to them. If they want a party, they're going to get a party. If they want a parade, they're going to have a parade. If they want to go to war, they're going to go to war. They don't have a Congress, a Senate. They have no guardrails. And that's what Donald Trump wants.
I'll be honest with you. As a Jewish man, I've always been hesitant to do that until recently. When I've listened to his verbiage at his rallies and even last night, I've now said to myself, and Stephen Miller, what he said yesterday, America is America, or whatever, the same type of verbiage similar to what an Adolf Hitler. I say to myself, do I think Donald Trump wants to murder 7 million people? No. But I do think that his language in a wannabe evil dictator is very similar to Adolf
And I want
Hitler.
to say real quick.
Yeah.
I'll say lastly. I know you got callers. He called himself the father of IVF. The only thing that man has been the father of is conning people his whole life, because, like I said many times before, he is the con father.
You're right. Good call, my friend. Thank you.
And again, you have to understand, becoming Hitler, it's over a period of time. If Donald Trump gets into the White House and there's a group of people that start standing up against him, yes, Donald Trump will turn into a Hitler-type adversary. Maybe not killing him, but he will start jailing them, deporting them.
Right.
He'll start putting them in concentration camps. There will be, and then you don't know where that leads, because Donald Trump, who's the next one to come after him?
He wants to be a dictator.
Right, and then he might not kill 7 million, but the guy that comes after him, following those beliefs, might want to. And that's what people don't understand.
He's a threat to democracy.
Correct, and that's the problem.
It's just an evident truth.
This is not about policies, Brian. This is not about taxes. This is not about the
He
border.
wants to arrest media members. He said at CBS he wants to throw them in jail.
He wants to arrest media members. He wants to arrest DOJ members.
You have to take that seriously.
And that's what is the crazy part. And he's realized that we've become so jaded. He's become so much. That's why if you take a look at his rhetoric, it's becoming worse and worse, because it's like people are ignoring that and trying to excuse it. And again, when I say people, very few people, because I believe majority of this country will never elect a criminal. I mean, let's not forget, this guy is supposed to be convicted and going to prison in a couple of weeks.
Which he very well might if he loses. Let's hope
he
so.
will if he loses.
Let's hope so. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is next up on PTL. Hi, Joseph. You're on with Lev. Go right ahead.
Yeah, hey, Brian. All right, here's my piece. Hearing about that rally from Madison Square Garden, that goes to show that this is what Trump wants. He wants to continue what Hitler committed, and this is why he wants to go after everybody, including Puerto Ricans. And hearing that joke from that comedian makes me think that you may think that's funny, but to me that's not funny to me.
Yeah.
And more importantly, after hearing about Hulk Hogan going there, makes me say, this is why I stopped watching pro wrestling, because someone like him, the way he is, makes me think. I used to think about all that time when I used to watch wrestling, but not anymore.
But see, that's the whole thing. Hulk Hogan, he's also an actor. These are all actors, guys.
Right.
These are all people that are out there, con men, actors, hustlers that are trying to make money. Hulk Hogan is now trying to sell a beer that called the American beer, taking pictures with Donald Trump. They all are out there to promote, make money, and monetize everything they're doing. And that's the type of, world. But Donald Trump, you have to take a look at. We're stuck right now on what happened in Madison Square Garden. That's not as bad as everything else Donald Trump did. Donald Trump every single day. Just think about in the past few months, the things he's lied about being in a helicopter accident with the mayor of San Francisco. I mean, just literally came out, lied, and never
lies about everything.
Never excuse, never said it was a mistake. Never went till this day. It says that he was in that helicopter. I mean, he goes out there talking about people eating cats and dogs. Till this day, he still believes now ducks. Now he's talking about ducks. Now it's ducks. I mean, just think about it. And he's never went back and said, okay, that might have been a mistake. But just think about he's like a tornado, worse than an F5 tornado, because everywhere he goes, he's disrupting. Look at all the lives and how many people's lives he destroyed in Springfield, Ohio. Think about all the people's lives he destroyed by overturning Roe versus Wade. Think about all the lives he's destroying in Ukraine by allowing Putin to go. That people are dying.
People like you.
Think of we're even the smallest problem, but think about what he's doing to our country.
Terrible.
Just think about all the women. Just today in a communist country like Russia, you could go get an abortion and not have a problem or worry about. But in America, it depends on what state you live in 2024. So it's very crazy to, he knows how to use the media. He knows how to use a cycle. And the reason why he did Madison Square Garden is because for you to forget about all the other crazy stuff he said. And now here we are going to concentrate for the next couple of days until the next crazy thing he does. And that's part of the routine, to just keep the ball moving, keep you thinking. Because if you take a look and think about any one of the things that he did in the past 8 years, any one of the smaller things, not even the craziest thing, would have disqualified any other Republican, Democrat, Independent, and that's the whole key. Where have we become as a society that we're allowing this madman to go out there and do these crazy things, insult all these people, and still be close to being
Some people
the
have
president.
normalized it, and you're right. It shouldn't be normalized.
But it's like I'm one of the guys at the barber shop. I went to get a haircut, and he was trying to tell me all of a sudden, he tries to make this comment, said, but Lev, my 9-year-old son came out and said that Kamala, and before he even had a chance to stop, I said, stop. Your 9-year-old son is listening to the propaganda bullshit you and your wife are teaching him.
Right.
Your 9-year-old son did not grow up and saying Trump or Kamala or this or that. They're listening, and this is the problem, because now your 9-year-old son is sitting there talking about nasty things about the vice president or president. This is what you're teaching him? This is what you want your son to look up to as the president? No, but that's not who he's going to be. He's going to be, again, I said that was in 2016. In 2016, we all said that's not who he's going to be. He's going to change. The office is going to change him. He's going to become we saw it made him worse, more crazier, more radical. So what I'm saying to you guys is Right now, it's not about policies. We could spend hours, days, years talking about this one and that one. The bottom line is we could live through anything that happens with the Kamala Walz campaign. Yes, if you could
point.
say, taxes might be higher, this might be. I'm not going to debate that. But we cannot survive 4 years of Trump because, yes, we won't feel it day one. Yes, day one, we're not going to have all this crazy. But 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we will be back to 1980s, the Cold War, where you're not going to be able to travel. You're not going to be able to have free trade like we have today. And then
this is more important than policy.
Of course.
This is about decency and a madman and a crazy lunatic who is very dangerous for the country. Very well said. I agree with everything you said. All right, let's go. We got a couple more minutes left here. Let's go to Virgil. Virgil is next up on PTL. Hi, Virgil. Go right ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Nice to meet you, Lev. I've known about you for a long, long time.
Thank you, Virgil. Pleasure.
I just wanted to say something to the MAGA guy. I had two little quick things to say. The MAGA guy, like, oh boy. Like, they talk about Trump TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, but really it's the right that have it. Like, they're delusional for Trump. And the left is, like, looking at them like the maniacs, like, just cool-headed, head properly on their shoulders. And it's like, what are these people talking about? They believe whatever he says. So it's not that often that I get to talk to someone that's been up close up. And I wanted to ask about a thing that Representative Adam Kinzinger once said about why is no one talking about how stinky Trump is? And I just wanted to know, is he a pretty stinky guy?
That's an interesting question.
It's an interesting question. I'll tell you guys this thing. The one thing that I try not to get into, and I know it's into some of these crazy rumors or things like that, because my platform's a lot more important to get the truth out about factual stuff that happened, and I don't want to allow them to then attack and go back and forth.
I think there's probably more important things.
There's a lot more important, but I'm sure there's people that could answer that question.
Yeah,
just
maybe we'll answer some more serious questions. But thank you for the call. Let's go to Carol. Carol is next up on PTL. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Lev. I want to say, Lev, thank you so much for what you're doing. I had the honor of seeing your documentary.
Oh, thank
you. And it was so fair. And, I think that Rachel really handled that really well.
Yeah.
Big fan of hers. And my concern is, and I don't know what your take is on this, but if for some reason he slimes in there, I won't even mention his name. My concern is like how the world order is going to be. Like he's threatened to pull us out of NATO, and my concern is really not so much his personal horrible things that he says, but what is going to happen to our world security, where we are overseas, what we've done all our lives to, establish and maintain democracies around the world. Like people from other countries say, what's going on over there? How can so many people not know what he is? These are people from the outside that are looking in.
That's a good
I just want to know your take on that.
Oh, absolutely.
Good question.
It's a great question. Yep. It's probably one of the best questions because as Americans, we concentrate on what's going on inside the United States, and that's why we're trying to get into the policies. And that's one of the things that Trump and the mega world are trying for you to distract you from, which is the bigger problem, is what you said, are international. Because our economics have a lot to do with what happens international trade, the stuff we buy back and forth from China and other countries and sell oil and other things, transportation. And the reason why we're able to have such a free and economy is because we control the world when it comes to security. We have all over the world, there's a group called NATO, like you said, that together after World War II put together to make sure tyrants like the Soviet Union, China are not able to go and overtake it. And that's one of the biggest problems Donald Trump wants to destroy. By being very cozy with Putin, he wants to destroy NATO. And it took us, decades to put together these relationships that he wants to destroy overnight. And just think about for 1 second that, nothing's going to, again, couple of years, we won't feel it, we'll think it's happening. But think about 10 years from now, all of a sudden, if now it's the old Soviet Union, and now you can't travel freely to all overseas because now we don't have the same relationships with Paris or Germany that we take for granted today because we've built such a great alliance that Trump is now destroying. Because what people also don't understand is all of these countries are now building in backup plans because just in case he does get into it, because they know he's not going to give any more money to Ukraine. But they're going to continue.
He won't even answer whether he wants Ukraine to win.
Well, because he knows he doesn't want them to win.
It's unbelievable.
He doesn't want them to win, and that's the problem. That's a great question, and that's probably one of the biggest fears because with the Trump presidency, 10, 20 years from now is when we're really going to feel it, our kids, grandkids, and so on.
Great question. Great answer. All right. Going to take a couple more calls, then I want to give the opportunity again to promote this event that we are doing tomorrow night. Let's go to Laura. Laura's next on PTL. Hi, Laura.
Hey, Brian, Lev. I listen to your show all the time. I've never called, but...
Oh, well, thank you for calling.
I saw Lev was on there, and I watched the documentary lately, and it was really awesome. I'm in West Virginia. I'm in Trump country, so I feel outnumbered quite a bit here. And I may have actually just missed the question that I was going to ask. What was your biggest fear? You actually know this person, and we just see what he puts in front of us, what he wants us to see. And I know there's a lot of people. I'm really worried about the environment and what his rollbacks will cause. So that was my question, and I heard you talking about your biggest fear. I may have actually just asked the question twice, but
that's okay.
No, that's
well, I
okay.
appreciate, Laura, you calling in from West Virginia. I'm glad there are some like-minded people out there in West Virginia. You're right, it is Trump country, but I'm glad you're not one of them, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and like I said, my biggest fear is Trump getting into office, and the biggest thing that people don't realize, it's not even Trump, who he will put in power. Yeah. Who will be your attorney general? Who will be your secretary of state? Who will be your secretary of defense minister? These are people that are no longer going to be loyal to the Constitution.
Yeah.
These are people that are no longer going to be loyal to the country, to you as the people. The only loyalty that they will have is to Donald Trump. And that's the pure definition of dictatorship. So understand that. Think about it for 1 second, that Donald Trump promises you he's going to give you lower taxes. Donald Trump promises you he's going to do the border. Donald Trump gives you lots of promises. But how does it happen? It doesn't just, he's not a dictator. He can't come in and wave a magic wand. He has to be able to negotiate with the Congress, the Senate. He has to be able to, and there is nobody in either those Congress or Senate that is even willing to negotiate with Donald Trump. That's how much hatred. So.
No question. So we only have a few more minutes left here. So what I want to do is I want to talk about this event and why you're in Vegas. And I really do appreciate you being here. And I'm certainly honored to be able to help guest host this event. It's going to be tomorrow night at the Space. And what we have here, and I'll let you talk a little bit more about it, is we have a screening. If you haven't already seen it, it's fantastic. And you've had some callers that have been talking about it. Come early for the screening from Russia with Lev, Rachel Maddow's new documentary. That's going to be at 7 p.m. at a place called The Space. It's a really cool, intimate venue where tickets start. Actually, I'm looking at some of the tickets. They start at $69, so very affordable. You get to see the screening. That's at 7 p.m. tomorrow night.
Yep.
And then at 8:30 p.m., I'm going to be hosting a Q&A with Lev where people are going to be able to, because listen, I could take phone calls and people could ask you questions for 5 hours. We have other places to be. But if you want to ask Lev a question in person tomorrow night, it's going to be right after the screening. That's going to be at 8:30. Now, if you purchase one of these VIP tickets, I believe it's $125 for the front and the floor, $115 for the back. You're going to get a VIP personal meet and greet with Lev, a reception, a photo opportunity, and a personalized signing of your book, which is also incredible.
Absolutely.
So all that stuff included. It starts at 7 p.m. The number of the Space to purchase tickets is 702-903-1070. Again, that number for the Space tomorrow night, 7 p.m. to purchase a ticket, 702-903-1070. And Lev, I think we're going to have a good time tomorrow night.
I think we're going to have a great time, and the most important thing is, elections are 8 days away. I think the more people that are undecided, or the more people that are here in Vegas that haven't made up their mind, I really welcome them to come and see, and really I think it'll make a difference. And also I'm going to put out a little, little thing out there that if any really hardcore, mega undecisive, I'll give a couple of free tickets if you call in to Brian and Brian picks you. I will please come in. I really want some people that out there that really are mega that want to see it and discuss it, because I think it'll make a difference. So come on out. I'm there. I'd love to see you.
I think what I'll do is I will open up the phone lines tomorrow for people that call in that are MAGA Trump supporters that want tickets.
Or undecisive. People undecisive that
I'll write down a
some
few
people
names.
can't afford it, can't have it. Let's put a couple of people together.
I will do
We
that.
could do a little panel and then have a little quick Q&A after the movie.
I like that. I will do that, and I will take some names down. And I think tomorrow I will do that on the show tomorrow, where
Wonderful.
I'll take independents or anybody that is a Trump supporter free tickets. If they want to come out and meet Lev, and I'm really glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you for
I'm really
having
glad
me.
you're doing this, and it's really important.
And I love Las Vegas. This is my stomping grounds.
It is a great
And
city.
the funny part is one of my charges, Adam Laxalt.
Oh boy!
Supposedly I was, bribing him to get a marijuana license. So
Yeah.
we got to do that after the elections. We'll talk about that.
We have to do a full segment on Adam Laxalt
And cannabis in Vegas.
Yes, we have to do a full segment. Boy, am I so glad he lost.
Yeah.
Another complete MAGA buffoon.
Yeah.
Listen, there are people that.
That's a Ron DeSantis guy. There's a lot going there.
What a shocker, right?
Yeah.
You ever meet Ron DeSantis?
I'm the one that introduced him to Trump.
There you go. So you know Ron DeSantis pretty well.
Oh my God!
Him and
I
his
know
white
Ron
boots.
DeSantis. Oh, are you kidding me?
Boy, we could do another show just on that.
I have hundreds of text messages with Ron DeSantis.
Oh
He's the one
my
that introduced me to
gosh.
Laxalt. They used to be both JAG officers.
Oh
back
my
Oh, I have
God.
stories for you, Brian. We'll get back to. But
We'll have to get back
yeah.
to that. But what we
All
want
right.
is many people as possible coming out
Yep,
tomorrow
come on
night.
out. We'll have some good Q&A.
Yeah,
and some good
screening.
questions.
We're going to do a Q&A. It's at a place called
Take
The
some
Space in Las
pictures, yeah.
Vegas. Yeah, meet and greet, pictures, all that stuff. And as I said, tickets are affordable. They start at general admission, $69. The event is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. I know I have some listeners and some friends that are going to be going,
Awesome.
and it's going to be a lot of fun. Lev, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
I owe
having
you
me.
lunch. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And we have some pretty cool celebrities that are going to be coming on the show tomorrow. A personal friend of mine who is a very big Kamala Harris supporter. This is a programming note. Vivica A. Fox is going to be joining us on the. She's a friend of mine.
Vivica's great.
She's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. Ryan Sheed, if you want to follow somebody who has a large following and is really great at covering politics, Ryan Sheed is one of them. We spoke. He's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow as well. We're going to have some very special guests. We have it in with the campaign to try to get Kamala Harris on the show Thursday. She's coming to Vegas. We've put in the request, so hopefully we can get her on the line. That would be great. But Vivica A. Fox and Ryan Sheed will be joining us on the show tomorrow. I appreciate Lev being here. I really do. Nice to finally meet you, Lev. And I can't wait for this event tomorrow night. We'll be giving some tickets away on the show tomorrow as well. So thanks for joining us, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn?